Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. So today we are kind of going to take one or two suttas. First sutta I am taking it's a small sutta from Anguttara Nikaya. It is I think book of 11.2. Book of 11.2. This sutta is kind of giving you a kind of encouragement. Just to give you encouragement, initially the first day I had told that if you are taking care of the 6 hours, then the development will happen. Many people have still asked me many times that how does the mind develop, how I want to do this and that, and I kind of go back again and again and say that do your 6 hours, and when you do your 6 hours you will eventually develop everything else. So this is kind of giving an encouragement. The Buddha is giving an encouragement. Students, for a virtuous person, one whose behavior is virtuous, no violation need be exerted. Let non-regret arise in me. It is natural that non-regret arises in one who is virtuous, one whose behavior is virtuous. That means the person who keeps precepts, then the feeling of non-regret arises in him automatically. As I gave you the example of the Buddha himself, that if there is a chicken, it sits on the eggs, but by that same principle, if it is sitting on the eggs will hatch and the chicks will come. There is no violation required that my chick should hatch, my egg should hatch, the chick should come out. Those kind of things are not required. So when a person is virtuous, non-regret will arise in them. For one without non-regret, no violation be exerted, let joy arise in me. It is natural that joy arises in one without regret. So if one is without regret, joy will automatically arise. Nobody has to kind of wish for joy. It will automatically arise. For one who is joyful, no violation needed be exerted, let happiness arise in me. It is natural that happiness arises in one who is joyful. For one with a happy mind, no violation need be exerted, let my body become tranquil. It is natural that the body of one with a happy mind is tranquil. If your mind is joyful, it will become happy. If it is happy, it will become tranquil. For one tranquil in body, no violation need be exerted, let me feel pleasure or let me feel happiness. It is natural that one tranquil in body feels happiness. For one feeling happiness, no violation need be exerted. Let my mind be collected or unified or concentrated. So that need not be exerted. For one who is collected or unified in mind, no violation need be exerted. Let me know and see things as they really are. Yatha Buddha yesterday he kind of mentioned that it is natural that one who is collected knows and sees things as they are. So when you are collected in mind, you have mindfulness and you are looking at what is happening, how your mind's attention is going from here to there. So they know, the mind knows here and now how this reality is, that it is impersonal, it is dukkha when you are kind of resisting it, and it is also impermanent. So those things are known by automatically your mind being collected. For one who knows and sees things as they really are, no violation need be exerted. Let me be disenchanted. It is natural that one who knows and feels things as they really are is disenchanted. Disenchantment means that the whatever comes up in your mind, the thought comes up, a feeling comes up, even a light comes up, an image comes up, a memory comes up. You are not too much attracted to that. Okay? And I will give you a kind of simile which I have later. For one who is dispassionate, for one who is disenchanted, no volition need be exerted. Let me become dispassionate. It is natural that one who is disenchanted becomes dispassionate. So what happens is, dispassion is a higher degree of not kind of taking it personally. Okay? So when something comes, you are just knowing, okay, this is there. And you can relax, let go and come back. This time, you don't have any kind of opinion for that. If there is an anger, feeling of anger comes up, you just look at the anger and you let go, relax, smile and come back. You are not kind of attached to it, or you have no opinions about it. Like I give a kind of example is that if you are in a buffet, say, okay, if you are in a buffet, there is something which is you like a lot, and that is limited quantity is given, and you kind of run first and get that thing because you know that it may get over. Everybody wants this dish. So first that is your mind state, that you kind of run to the buffet and get it. When you are disenchanted, so what you do is, okay, if it is there, I will have it. If it is not there, it's okay if it gets over. Then you go on your own time, and if it is there, you will have it. If it's not there, it's okay. But you still have preference for that dish. You still have preference, but it is okay if it is, you are getting it, it's okay if it is not getting it. But when you get dispassionate, then there is no difference between one dish and the other dish. So you say, if I get this is okay, that is okay. You may also leave that thing, okay, other people are liking this dish, so maybe let them enjoy. I will have this. For me, it does not make a difference. That is the place where you have no kind of preference. So that is how the mind will automatically become dispassionate. For one who is dispassionate, no volition need be exerted. Let me realize the knowledge and vision of liberation. What is knowledge and vision of liberation? Nibbana. Okay, it is natural that one who is dispassionate realize the knowledge and vision of liberation, which is Nibbana. For one who has no passion for whatever arises, he recognizes and let it go. So when you are in a quiet mind, you are in nothingness, you just see if something come, you just let go. You don't grasp at it, don't try to investigate it. You just come, okay, it is coming and it is going. One of our students is in that state of mind for a long time. She says, oh, this is there, I know how it has come before, how it is there and how it is going to be. I know everything. She's from a Pali department, she knows also theoretically, but now she is seeing that. But okay, this is there, okay, it is okay, it is there. So for the person who has just dispassion and disenchantment, then what happens? They will attain Nibbana. They don't have to kind of wish for Nibbana. So it will happen when the mind is, conditions are is right, this will happen. Thus, students, the knowledge and vision of liberation is the purpose and benefit of dispassion. So in this way, this whole process works. So if you are taking care of just your precepts, then the next step of non-regret will come, and the next step of joy will come, happiness will come, tranquility of body will come. So everything will kind of take care of itself. So just you have to do your work. So I still hear that people are talking and all these things. So this retreat is almost over, but make sure that next retreat, if you are there, you take care of that aspect also. Because if you are taking care of the precept, because we have agreed, there is an agreement with us that we will have noble silence. But you are breaking that, then your mind you are making a little bit upset. Okay, so it comes as hindrances. So just this is a way of encouragement. that one thing will lead to other. You just have to keep on doing your task. So we will take the main sutta which is there, which is Majjhima Nikaya 43. Majjhima Nikaya 43, Mahavedalla Sutta. That is the greater series of questions and answers. So they have a little more questions and answers. Previously we had taken a shorter series, that is Majjhima Nikaya 44 we had taken. So this is Majjhima Nikaya 43. Thus have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jetha's Grove, Anathapindika's park. So have you, does everybody know the story of the Anathapindika's park? No. So see, what happened is, this is called Jetha's Grove and Anathapindika's park. So there is two names. How it came about? Anathapindika was not his name. I forget his name. What is his name? Sudatta. So he was a very wealthy merchant, and he used to give food. So at that Buddha's time, if you are a wealthy merchant, then you give food at one gate. So say the west gate of the your city, you give food. There is a Dhanashala is there where everybody comes and they get food free of cost. If you are more rich, you have it in 2 gates. If you are more rich, you will have it in 3 gates. If you are more rich, then you will have it in 4 gates. So the city has 4 gates, he will have it in 4 Dhanashalas. If he is more rich, then he will have it in his home also. So he will have it in the city gates, and he will have it near his home also one. Then he will have 5 Dhanashalas. So Anathapindika was that kind of a merchant. That is the reason he was called Anathapindika. He gives food to the people. So then he wanted a place for Buddha to stay. So he thought that Jetha's Grove was a very beautiful place and he can kind of go and buy it. So he went to Jetha, and Jetha was means Jetha, you know, Jesht. So he was a prince and he was the higher prince. So he said that I will not sell you this thing. But he kind of pleaded with the prince that we need it for a good purpose. So he said that the ground you cover with gold, I will send it to you. So Anathapindika went and got all his wealth in a bullock cart, in the gold coins, and started putting it on the ground. And somebody saw this and informed the prince that Anathapindika is actually going and putting gold coins over there. So he was really surprised, and he kind of got on a horse and came there to see what is happening. And he said that, stop, what are you doing? So he said, you said I should put the gold. So he said, see, I did not know that you had such devotion for the Buddha. So the gold you have put on the ground, that I sell to you. Okay? Rest of the Jetha one which is there, I donate to you. Donate to the Buddha. So that is the reason this is Jetha's Grove, Anathapindika's Grove. Both of their name is there in this place. And Buddha spent a lot of time over here, and there are many sutras over here. Then when it was evening, the Venerable Mahakoita rose from meditation, went to the Venerable Sariputta, and exchanged greetings with him. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he sat down at one side and said to the Venerable Sariputta. So over here, Mahakoita goes and speaks to Venerable Sariputta, but it is not said over here, but commentary is mentioned, and other suttas also they mention students with them. So we can assume that he had students with them, and this question answers is for the benefit of the students, because Mahakoita is also a Arahant and Sariputta is also an Arahant. Wisdom, they talk about wisdom. One who is unwise is said. Friend, with reference to what is this said, one who is unwise, one does not wisely understand, friend. That is why it is said, one who is unwise. And what doesn't one wisely understand? One does not wisely understand this is suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the origin of suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One does not wisely understand. One does not wisely understand, friend. That is why it is said, one who is unwise. So, Bhante says that wisdom is related to dependent origination. But the four noble truth is there in each link of dependent origination. Like we can say that there is ignorance, there is a reason for the ignorance, there is a cessation of the ignorance, and there is a way leading to the cessation of ignorance. So in that way, the dependent origination, so wisdom and wise whenever is there, it is the knowledge of this dependent origination and four noble truths. And we can also include the three characteristics that is also there in each of the link of dependent origination. Saying, good friend, the Venerable Mahakohita delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Sariputta's words. Then he asked him a further question. One who is wise is said, friend. With reference to what is this said, one who is wise? One wisely understands, friend. That is why it is said, one who is wise. What does one wisely understand? One wisely understands this is suffering. One wisely understands this is the origin of suffering. One wisely understands this is the cessation of suffering. One wisely understands this is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. One wisely understands, friend. That is why it is said, one who is wise. Consciousness is said, friend. With reference to what is consciousness said? It cognizes, friend. That is why consciousness is said. What does it cognize? It cognizes this is pleasant. It cognizes this is painful. It cognizes this is neither painful nor pleasant. It cognizes, friend. That is why consciousness is said. So the consciousness cognizes. So it will say this is painful, this is pleasant, this is neither painful nor pleasant. So we require the consciousness over there. So there is a more clarification on consciousness also. Then I'll just read a little bit of Digha Nikaya. There is one sutta where I think Buddha Vipassi is thinking about like when he was also a bodhisattva, he was thinking about the dependent origination. Buddha also thinks about dependent origination when he is a bodhisattva. Consciousness conditions mind and body, and then the bodhisattva vipassi thought. With what being present does consciousness occur? What conditions consciousness? And then, as a result of wisdom born of profound consideration and realization drawn on him, mind and body conditions consciousness. Then monks, the Bodhisattva Vipassi thought, this consciousness turns back at mind and body. It does not go any further. So what the Bodhisattva is thinking is that because there is consciousness, there is mind and body. Because there is mind and body, there can be consciousness. Because consciousness is only based on conditions. That is Majjhima Nikaya 38 we said. That was a Sati Sanavha chairman short that consciousness was like that only and it can go from here and there. But Buddha says consciousness requires a condition. Eye and object and eye consciousness is there. Ear and sound, ear consciousness is there. Nose and smell is nose consciousness. Taste and our tongue is taste consciousness. Then if body and tangibles is body consciousness, and mind and mind objects is mind consciousness. When there is something that is required for the consciousness to come, so that is one way of looking at consciousness. Buddha says it in a kind of, he takes it further to sankharas and ignorance. Consciousness is, okay, wisdom and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjoint? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them? So now the question is, if one has wisdom, does it have a consciousness also? Are they together? Or there can be separation of wisdom and consciousness, and you can just examine consciousness and then examine wisdom. Wisdom and consciousness, friend, these states are conjoined, not disjointed. and it is impossible to separate each of the states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. For what one wisely understands, that one cognizes, and what one cognizes, that one wisely understands. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjointed, and it is impossible to separate each of the states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. So they are always together. So if there is wisdom, then there is consciousness. If there is consciousness, there can be wisdom can be developed. What is the difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness? These states that are conjoined, not disjointed. The difference, friend, between wisdom and consciousness, these states that are conjoined, not disjointed, is this: wisdom is to be developed, consciousness is to be fully understood. So the consciousness which is there is to be understood, but the wisdom has to be developed. How do we develop the wisdom? 6 hours. That is it. So when we are at an object of meditation, our mind moves, we realize this is impersonal. We release it, relax, smile and come back. And then again it comes up. Then we realize that it is impersonal, but then we also realize that this which is coming up, when we are resisting it, oh, why is this coming up once again? Then we are creating dukkha also. That resistance is dukkha. Then we recognize, release, relax, return back, and then what happens is, then whatever had come up stops coming up. When we recognize that that was not there, it came up and it is not there now. That is impermanence also. So all the characteristics also we are learning. So we are developing our wisdom. How we are developing? By cognizing it, by using consciousness. If we are not conscious, we could not do this. So the consciousness is to be understood, but the wisdom has to be developed. Feeling is said, friend. With reference to what is feeling said, it feels, friend. That is why feeling is said. What does it feel? It feels pleasure, it feels pain, it feels neither pain nor pleasure. It feels, friend. That is why feeling is said. Perception is said, friend. With reference to what is perception said, it perceives, friend. That is why perception is said. What does it perceive? It perceives blue, it perceives yellow, it perceives red. So the faculty which says blue, yellow, red has perception, but it also has memory, it has history in it. So it can be one very kind of nice story is there. I don't know if it is true or not, but I'll tell you the story. Once what happened is that there was in one of the American islands, there was a tribe, and the tribe chief would always go in the morning and survey the ocean. He would just look at the ocean. So he would look at the ocean, and that was their kind of a ritual was there. They would survey the ocean and then come back. Then one day he realized that the ocean waves are not proper. There is something over there which is wrong with the ocean waves. Actually, what was happening was Columbus's 3 ships were coming up. And because the ships, they had never seen those ships, they just did not recognize the ships. They could not see the ships. What they recognized was the ocean and the waves of the ocean. So they first saw the waves of the ocean. When they went the next day and they paid attention to this, they could not see the ship. They could just notice that there is an ocean. Okay, waves are different. And then slowly one of the chiefs pays attention, and slowly he kind of realizes, oh, they are very near to us now. And these are some different shapes. They were initially not able to see the ships because they had never experienced that kind of a thing. So they did not have it in perception. So it took some time for them to develop that perception of ships. Something which sails in the ocean. When they got that idea that there is something which sails in the ocean, then that ship came into the picture. And they could see the ships coming. So it's a story or not, I am not sure, but this is a way of kind of explaining a perception. But huh? Correct.
before tsunami, I think they predicted that there is something going to be wrong.
Correct.
And immediately they took shelter, they moved from that particular place.
Correct.
And all they survived.
Correct.
All of them survived.
Correct. Because they know the ocean, so they thought that, oh, this ocean is not correct, and thus they. But if they were given something like a mobile phone, they would don't know what to do. It is a rock or something like that. So in their perception, this is not technology. It is maybe a shiny rock or something like that. So that perception is based on our history and our ability to kind of access. But this can be many lifetime of history also is part of this perception. Feeling, perception and consciousness, friend, are these states conjoined or disjointed? And is it possible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them? So what is it saying? Feeling, perception and consciousness, they are also conjoined. They are like this. So they cannot be separated to check each of those things. Feeling, perception and consciousness, these states are conjoined, not disjointed, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the other in order to describe the difference between them. For what one feels, that one perceives, and what one perceives, that one cognizes. So if there is a feeling, there is a perception, there is a cognizance, that is consciousness is involved. That is why these states are conjoined, not disjointed, and it is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference between them. Knowledge by mind alone. Friend, what can be known by purified mind consciousness released from 5 faculties? What are these 5 faculties? Eye, ear, nose, tongue, body. Not mind is 6. So these 5 faculties, released from 5 faculties. What is that? What are they talking about? Arupa jhana. So this rupa is not there. Then by the purified conscious, mind consciousness, what can we know? So we are, when we go into arupa, we say you don't have a body. Okay? And many people say, oh, I did not have a body, I did not feel anything. Or I was putting my attention over here, then I was feeling it. So sometimes Bhante kind of insists that you don't put attention on even the pain, because the pain is also a mental pain, the meditation pain in Arupa jhanas. Friend, by purified mind consciousness released from the 5 faculties, the base of infinite space, which is still metta, okay? Infinite space can be known thus. Space is infinite. The base of infinite consciousness, that is, the infinite space is karuna, then infinite consciousness is mudita. Can be known. Consciousness is infinite, and the base of nothingness. What is base of nothingness? Equanimity. So that base of nothingness can be known. There is nothing. Friend, with what does one understand the state that can be known? Friend, one understands a state that can be known with the eye of wisdom. What is the eye of wisdom? It is the purified mind, which is rid of the 5 hindrances. That is the purified mind. Or you can say that the mind has a faculty of wisdom. So through the faculty of wisdom, we can see this. Because if it sees with the mind, then that is also an impermanent entity. It cannot be a permanent entity. Friend, what is the purpose of wisdom? The purpose of wisdom, friend, is direct knowledge. Its purpose is full understanding. Its purpose is abandoning. So when we are developing our wisdom, what is the purpose of it? It is direct knowledge. Directly we are knowing. We are knowing this is happening over here. This we are letting it go. And we are knowing it directly. Its purpose is full understanding. You are understanding how this full process is working. Its purpose is abandoning. So we abandon everything. That is the reason when you are in nothingness, what we say is, or in quiet mind, let go of everything. Whatever comes, don't be curious. Don't investigate. Just let go. Abandoning. So that time you, whatever arises, we let go. So that is the purpose of wisdom. Right view. Friend, how many conditions are there for the arising of right view? Friend, there are two conditions for arising of right view: the voice of another and wise attention. Who is the voice of another? The Buddha. And what is the other thing? Wise attention. So you have to pay attention. So we are reading the words of the Buddha, but you have to pay attention to that. These are the two conditions for the arising of right view. Friend, by how many factors is right view assisted? When it has deliverance of mind for its fruit, deliverance of mind for its fruit and benefit. When it has deliverance of by wisdom for its fruit, deliverance by wisdom for its fruit and benefit. Then right view is assisted by 5 factors. When it has deliverance of mind for its fruit, deliverance of mind for its fruit and benefit. When it has deliverance by wisdom for its fruit and deliverance by wisdom for its fruit and benefit. Here, friend, right view is assisted by virtue. What is virtue? Precepts which are there, which we give, that you have to keep. Okay, so that is assisting in the right view. You keep the precepts. Learning. Learning is also observation. Okay, how do you learn? By watching your mind's movement going from one thing to another. That is how you learn. You learn by listening to the suttas which we are reading. You learn by asking questions. Okay, so that learning is there. Discussion. Discussion is also what we do in the interview. We ask you question, you clarify the doubts, asking questions and having a discussion. That is also assisting the right view. Serenity. Serenity is the tranquility which you feel in your meditation. That is also assisting in this thing. And insight. Insight is what? Vipassana. So that are helping the right view to develop. Right view assisted by these 5 factors has deliverance of mind for its fruit, deliverance of mind for its fruit and benefit. It has deliverance of mind for its fruit, deliverance of by wisdom for its fruit and benefit. Being. Friend, how many kinds of beings are there? There are these 3 kinds of beings, friend. Sense sphere beings. What are sense sphere beings? Who have senses. Okay, so there can be humans, it can be animals, anything which has sense, those, we can feel the senses. Fine material beings. Who are fine material beings? Devas. Devas are there, Brahma. Till Brahma they are called fine material beings. Okay, in the Brahma Loka also they are fine material beings. And immaterial beings. What are immaterial beings? Arupa, correct. So Arupa Jana, whoever has attained and goes to that immaterial realm, there only the mind is there. Okay, there is no body. Friend, how is renewal of being in the future generated? How do we get reborn? Renewal of being in the future is generated. Being means every being which is there. Friend, renewal of being in the future is generated through the delighting in this and that on the part of being who are hindered by ignorance. So they are delighting in this and that thing, but they are also hindered by ignorance because they don't know the 4 noble truths. They don't know the 3 characteristics. They don't know the dependent origination. Because they are not knowing those things, they are hindered by this. So they get delighted in this thing or they get delighted in that thing. And they kind of continue the process. And fettered by craving. So craving is what is kind of the thing which is the chain, which is ensuring that the being goes from one life to another life. So you want something and that kind of creates another life. In our kind of being also, as a human being also, you want to have a car, and that car you cannot afford in this job. So you will go to another job. So that going from one job to another job is also fettered by delighting in a car or something like that. Not knowing what is the truth of all cars, which is all cars are impermanent. Then you are have craving. So this movement from here to there also is happening because of the craving itself. So this is the way the renewal of being happens. Friend, how is renewal of being in the future not generated? So this is important to few people who are kind of really serious. Friend, with the fading away of ignorance, with the arising of true knowledge, and with the cessation of craving, renewal of being in the future is not generated. So when you become an arahant, that is one of the criteria of nibbana also. So in nibbana what happens? The fading away of ignorance is there. Then arising of true knowledge is there. And the cessation of craving is there. So that is also a state of nibbana, a being who has a arahant. The first jhana. Friend, what is the first jhana? Here, friend, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a student enters upon and abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by thinking and examining thought, with joy and happiness born of seclusion. This is called the first jhana. Friend, how many factors does the first jhana have? Friend, the first jhana has 5 factors. Here, when a student has entered upon the first jhana, there occur thinking and examining thought, joy, happiness, and unification of mind. This is how the first jhana has 5 factors. Friend, how many factors are abandoned in the first jhana and how many factors are possessed? Friend, in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. Here, when a student has entered upon the first jhana, sensual desire is abandoned, ill will is abandoned, sloth and torpor are abandoned, restlessness and remorse are abandoned, doubt is abandoned, and there occur thinking, examining thought, joy, happiness, unification of mind. That is how in the first jhana, 5 factors are abandoned and 5 factors are possessed. So it is just giving an example. So we have gone through the first jhana explanation a couple of times. So I think 3-4 times we have gone through. So they are just repeating this. And first jhana is not any mean feat, okay? If anybody thinks that first jhana is a kind of just first jhana, it is not the case. See, if a person is well versed in the first jhana, he has habit every time he is going in the first jhana, and he stays in the first jhana for a long time, then he is reborn as a Brahma. Okay, in the Brahma Loka he is reborn, and there are I think 3 levels. There is a lower level, there is a middle level of first jhana, and there is a higher level of first jhana. So as kind of skillful you are in the first jhana, that level you will be attaining. Okay, of Brahma Loka. So it is not a kind of a small thing to just attain first jhana. Bhante used to say that in Burma there is a belief that if you attain first jhana for even once, your mind is, you earn so much merit that you are reborn in a Brahma Loka. But in the suttas it mentions that you have to be well versed in it. In the sutta at least they mention that you have to be kind of constantly be in it, you are not falling out of it, and you are kind of keeping it's an indication that you are also keeping precepts. Okay, and you kind of have a lifelong kind of practice of the first jhana. That is the indication I get from the sutta reading. But in Burma, they kind of have a belief that if you have it attained once, then you can kind of be reborn in a Brahma Loka. So it's a kind of, that is the reason they are giving so much time and effort to this. And one other thing is that if anybody can attain first jhana, then they can attain nibbana. That is also a factor, because in other suttas, Buddha mentions that in the first jhana also you can have cessation experience. Okay, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, arupa jhanas. So in any jhana you can. So first jhana if you are attaining, then there is a possibility you can attain nibbana. So certain people don't have that karmic thing, then they will not be able to attain the first jhana. 5 faculties. Friend, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's field and domain, that is eye faculty, ear faculty, nose faculty, tongue faculty, and body faculty. That means that you cannot see from your ears or taste from your eyes or something like that. No? So you can see only from your eyes and hear from your ears. A separate domain, not experiencing each other's field and domain. What is their resort? What experiences their field and domains? Friend, these 5 faculties each have a separate field, a separate domain, and do not experience each other's field and domain. That is the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, and the body faculty. Now these 5 faculties, each having a separate field, a separate domain, not experiencing each other's field and domain, have mind as their resort, and mind experiences their fields and domains. So everything comes and is experienced in the mind. Okay, so all this, that is the reason we can see and hear and taste and all these things, and we can experience that, and it feels like we are experiencing it together, you know. I am seeing you and I am also hearing myself and I am also speaking, but this is happening one thing at a time, but it happens so fast like a movie that everything looks like there is no gap in it. Friend, as to these 5 faculties, that is the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, and the body faculty, what do these 5 faculties stand in dependence on? Friend, as to these 5 faculties, that is the eye faculty, the ear faculty, the nose faculty, the tongue faculty, the body faculty, these 5 faculties stand in dependence on vitality. Vitality is also translated as life. Okay, some people translate vitality as life or energy, chi. So that all depends on the life force. Okay, so the force is very strong in you. They say, what is Star Wars? So this is the force. This is the life force, chi. Bante likes, no? Yeah, Bante likes Star Wars, so he has a Yoda statue also.
And somebody would say, okay, but I'll try, and you would point at Yoda and you say, very well try.
There's do or don't. There's not try.
Star Wars is coming up quite frequently.
Yeah, he likes that. Yeah. So, and then there is an interesting part. So, pay wise attention now. Okay, this is an interesting thing. Friend, what does vitality stand in dependence on? Vitality stands in dependent on heat. So when we touch ourselves, what is there? There is a heat. And when we touch a corpse, it feels cold. So the vitality, life force is in dependence of heat. Friend, what does heat stand in dependence on? Okay? Heat stands in dependence on vitality. So, he says, just now friend, we understand the Venerable Sariputta to have said, vitality stands in dependence on heat. And now we understand him to say, heat stands in dependence on vitality. How should the meaning of this statement be regarded? In that case, friend, I shall give you a simile for some wise men here. Understand the meaning of a statement by means of a simile. Just as when an oil lamp is burning, its radiance is seen in dependence on its flame, and its flame is seen in dependence on its radiance. And that means that when the flame is there, you are seeing the light because there is flame is there. And you are able to see the flame because there is light. If there is no light, then you cannot see the flame. So that is how you are seeing one thing to other. They are all dependent on each other. So life force is dependent on heat, and heat is dependent on the life force or the vitality. So to vitality stands in dependence on heat, and heat stands in dependence on vitality. Vital formations. Friend, are vital formations things that can be felt, or are vital formations one thing and things that can be felt another? Vital formations can be thought of that the things which kind of keep you alive. That are the vital formations. Okay. So they are asking, can you feel those vital formations? Vital formations, friends, are not things that can be felt. So they are not the things which we can feel. If vital formation are things that can be felt, then a student who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling would not be seen to emerge from it. Because when there is no perception, there cannot be feeling, so they cannot emerge from it. So vital formations cannot be kind of felt. Because vital formations are one thing and things that can be felt another, a student who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling can be seen to emerge from it. Friend, when this body is bereft of how many states, is it then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log? So when there is, what are the things which are not there, then you are just a useless kind of a piece of log, you know, it is just there to get rotted. So like a log will rot, that body will also rot. So it's just they are kind of equating the body with just a log which is lying around. Friend, when this body is bereft of three states, vitality, heat and consciousness. So these three states should not be there for this body to be considered to be dead. Okay. So there was one interesting thing which happened when I was there in Vapananacha. So I was kind of serving a senior monk. If the senior monk is having a discussion or something like that, a junior like me, Samanera, would come and sit and would kind of offer tea and coffee and everything, so to kind of assist it, the monk, you know. So the monk was having a discussion with the medical team who had come from Bangkok. This is far away from Bangkok, but they had just come to discuss a ethical matter. They said that there is a new procedure in the West which is happening. They are kind of trying to introduce this procedure. The procedure is such that when there is an accident, they go to the person who is in an accident and they cryogenically freeze it, the person, okay? They pump something in the blood, freeze the whole body, and the body is frozen, so there is no movement, there is no blood loss or anything like that. That body is then flown to a high specialty hospital. Then what they do is they slowly put in the heat in the body and they defrost the body and try to do the critical procedures to save the person. So there is a higher percentage of survival rate in this, but they were kind of wanting to know that if this is done, can this be considered that I am killing somebody? Because they did not want to kind of, they were kind of on an ethical question that is this procedure when we are doing, when the body is frozen, because there are certain men which will not come back. So will this be considered to be a thing? So then there were discussion about that. But if they knew this, then they would be more certain that if we are taking the heat away from the body, still we have vitality and consciousness is still there. So in my consideration, when I saw this, I also did not know, I had never read this sutta, but when I read this sutta, it came to my this thing, awareness, that this would mean that they are not killing the person. And then in Vinaya also, to kill a person, you have to have intention. And with this intention of killing, you do the action. There is no intention of that. So I think that would have been a kind of a nice thing to know at that time. It is then discarded and forsaken, left lying senseless like a log. Friend, what is the difference between one who is dead, who has completed his time, and a student who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling? So now somebody who has a cessation experience, what is the difference between a dead person and a person who has entered the cessation? Friend, in the case of one who is dead, who has completed his time, his bodily formation has ceased and subsided. His verbal formations has ceased and subsided. His mental formations have ceased and subsided. His vitality is exhausted. Exhausted means finished. His heat has been dissipated, means it has gone to the ether. So it has been dissipated and his faculties are fully broken up. So all these faculties are there, eye, nose, ear, everything is broken up. In the case of a student who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling, his bodily formations have ceased and subsided. That's a person in cessation. He will kind of feel, he will not be able to move or anything like that, or he may not be able to feel his pulse or his heartbeat. Though in that cessation state, that can happen. And his verbal formations have ceased and subsided. So he is not anyway speaking. His mental formations have ceased and subsided because there is no consciousness, so there is no mental actions. But his vitality is not exhausted. His heat has not been dissipated. So he still has vitality and heat. And his faculties become exceptionally clear. So what happens is his eye, ear, nose, tongue, body and mind become exceptionally clear. That's the reason they may kind of experience colors very brightly. They may hear something which they are not able to hear. They may taste something which they were not able to taste like that. If they feel something, they may kind of feel in a different manner. So their faculties are enhanced. That's the reason we ask these questions also in our interviews. This is the difference between one who is dead, who has completed his time, and a student who has entered upon the cessation of perception and feeling. Deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind? So that is, they are calling, this is explanation of the fourth jhana. Friend, there are four conditions for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasant deliverance of mind. Here, with the abandoning of pleasure and pain, with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, a student enters upon and abides in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. These are the four conditions for the attainment of the neither painful nor pleasure deliverance of mind. So this is explaining the fourth jhana. Friend, how many conditions are there for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind? Friend, there are two conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind. Non-attention to all signs. So you don't pay attention to anything. Okay, you don't take interest in anything. You don't kind of investigate anything. So what is the criteria? Non-attention to all signs and attention to the signless element. What is signless? There is no chin. In Hindi what they call it chin is sign. Okay, chin rahit. वो कैसा स्थिति है? चिन्ह रहित स्थिति. So that is nothingness. So that is the nothingness. That is the mind which has nothing in it. So there is no signs in it. So you are paying attention to what? You are paying attention where there is no sign. Okay? So what happens is, friend, there are the two conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind. Signless deliverance of mind is having the cessation experience. They are explaining that. Deliverance of mind also means nibbana. The mind is delivered. Non-attention to all signs and attention to the signless element. These are the two conditions for the attainment of the signless deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind? Means when you have cessation, how does this cessation experience kind of move forward? How does it stay? How does one stay in cessation?
I have a question for the question you already asked. So, difference between a person who is alive and a dead body would be heat, vitality, and vinyasa. And that in the nirodha state during meditation. Then what parts are?
So that is the part. This is cessation means nirodha. Nirodha samapatti means cessation of perception and feeling.
But still, because he is alive, his heat, vitality, and vinyasa is still there.
Yeah.
So difference between
Conscious, not consciousness. Heat and vitality is there.
But vinyasa is not there.
No, there is no consciousness. There is that is the cessation of perception and consciousness. No? So that is
Between a person who is in cessation and a dead person is the heat and vitality.
heat and vitality.
Because Vijnana is not in there.
But there are other things which are there for the continuation of this and coming back of this. So they explain this over here. So friend, there are three conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind. Non-attention to all signs, attention to the sign, non-attention to all signs, attention to the signless element, and the prior determination of its duration. So, when a anagami or an arahant wants to go into cessation, so what he does is he pays attention to the signless, okay? And then what non-attention to all signs and attention to the signless, and then prior determination of time. So he determines the time of say half an hour. When he goes into cessation, he can pay attention to the cessation and attain cessation, and then he will stay there for half an hour and then come out. For this they do a little bit of determination training, like getting up. As I explained, every day when you are getting up, you put a different time and see if you can hit that time. Then in jhanas also there is a page where they are explaining how the jhana practice also can be done by determinations. So how many minutes you can stay, how many hours you can stay. Then you determine that are you coming out of this attainment at this precise moment. So that is the whole practice which has been mentioned. So this practice helps in this space when you are an anagami or an arahant. These are the three conditions for the persistence of the signless deliverance of mind. Friend, how many conditions are there for the emergence from the signless deliverance of the mind? So what are the conditions to come out of it when you are in cessation? Friend, there are two conditions for the emergence from the signless deliverance of mind: attention to all signs and non-attention to signless element. These are the two conditions to emergence from the signless deliverance of mind. Now this is a little bit controversial, because Bhante also kind of pointed out that when there is no consciousness at that time of cessation, then how is there paying of attention to all sign, and how is the non-attention to signless? So if there is a paying of attention, then there is some consciousness has to be there, no? So that I think this Bhante Vimar kind of says that this has some kind of translational issues with this statement. So this statement is something I think we have to take it with a pinch of salt about what they are saying over here. Maybe it is a translational thing, or this is just a way of expressing. Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind. What is the immeasurable deliverance of mind? Brahma Viharas. I mentioned this before also in one of these days. Immeasurable deliverance of mind, the Brahma Vihara. The deliverance of mind through nothingness. The deliverance of mind through voidness. And the signless deliverance of mind. So these are the states where you are attaining Nibbana through this objects of meditation, we can say. Are there states different in meaning and different in name, or are they one in meaning and different only in name? So what they are saying is immeasurable deliverance. So immeasurable is the Brahma Viharas. Immeasurable deliverance of mind means through the Brahma Viharas you attain Nibbana. The deliverance of mind through nothingness. So you attain cessation through, or Nibbana through the nothingness. The deliverance of mind through voidness, and the signless deliverance of mind. Are these states different in meaning and different in name, or are they one in meaning and different only in name? So are they the same or they different? So this is an interesting question, and they kind of explain it also. Friend, the immeasurable deliverance of mind, the deliverance of mind through nothingness, the deliverance of mind through voidness, and the signless deliverance of mind. There is a way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name, and there is a way in which they are one in meaning and different only in name. Okay, so they can be considered to be same, and they can be considered to be different also. What, friend, is the way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name? Here a student abides pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to himself. He abides pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So do anybody recognize these instructions? Huh? 6 directions, correct. These are the 6 directions. So you are sending metta to one quarter, then up, below, and then all encompassing world. He abides pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with compassion. So what happens? Loving kindness changes to compassion. He abides pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with altruistic joy, or just joy also. So mudita. So then compassion changes to mudita.
It is not altruistic, it's pity. It is just joy.
Joy is considered, Bhante considered it as the awaking factor of joy. So that is what Bhante used to say, this is the awaking factor of joy. This does not have the kind of excitement, which is, this is just nice. People kind of also say, it's just nice, it feels nice. One way of saying it is like you are in a pool of water which is perfect temperature till the neck, you know, and then the body is just nice. Okay. And you just feel that, you know. That is how this is explained. In the suttas also this has been explained. So, but altruistic joy is something maybe Bhante says it is just joy, but it can be considered as altruistic. There is no kind of harm in that. He abides pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with equanimity. Again, people kind of know how it becomes joy, and then it kind of becomes just still. That is equanimous. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and around and everywhere and to all as to himself. He abides pervading the all-encompassing world with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. This is called the immeasurable deliverance of mind. And what, friend, is the deliverance of mind through nothingness? So now there is no radiating now. You are not radiating. Now there is nothingness. Those 4 are the things where you are kind of radiating to all the directions. Here, with the complete surmounting of the base of infinite consciousness, aware that there is nothing, a student enters upon and abides in the base of nothingness. This is called the deliverance of mind through nothingness. And what, friend, is the deliverance of mind through voidness? Here a student goes to the forest or to the root of a tree or to an empty hut, reflects thus, this is void of self, or what belongs to self. This is called the deliverance of mind through voidness. This is not self kind of practice. So what happens is the voidness is considered to be void of something. So like you are in a market, okay? You are in a market, there is a lot of sound and everything. And there is a lot of commotion of the market, buying, selling. So you move to a monastery, you go to Migara's mother's palace and you sit over there. So you are void of the noises of the market. In Migara's mother's palace, there is no noise of the this thing. But there are 1,000 monks over there who are chatting and going here and there and doing their daily chores. People are coming to offer dana. There is food being made. So in Migara's mother's in the palace of Migara's mother, there is all these sounds are there. So you move to a forest. So it is void of the sounds which are there in the Migara's mother's palace. Now in the forest, you have all these sounds are there of birds and animals and all these things. Then you sit in meditation and then you seclude yourself from the sounds, and you put your, you go into first jhana. So you are away from the sounds of all the forest. Then you go to the second jhana. Then you are void of the first jhana, the factors which are there in the first jhana. Then you go to the third jhana. So you are void of the factors which are there in the second jhana. Then you go to the fourth jhana. So you are void of the factors which are there in the third jhana. Then you go into arupa jhana. So then you are void of the factors which are there in the fourth jhana. Then you go to infinite consciousness. Then infinite consciousness, then nothingness. Okay? Equanimity. You go to equanimity, then you go to nothingness. Now you are void of the things which were left behind. But what is there? At least nothingness is there. So that is where you stay. So this is one practice of voidness. You are just being void of one thing, another thing. But you are still have that nothingness. So it is not a shunyata. Shunyata means nothing. That does not mean that. Okay, there is a distinction which is made by the Buddha, and Bhante also kind of like this sutta, where he kind of reads this sutta. The shunyata does not mean that there is nothing, means there is shunya. There is at least the base of nothingness. So that is there. So you are void of everything else, and you are now there in this thing. So with this also, with the voidness also, you can attain the deliverance of mind. And I am not sure the Pali word. What is the Pali word for the voidness? Shunyata. But this shunyata is not the shunyata of the concept of the what you say. What was Nagarjuna. So not the concept of Nagarjuna. That is what we are trying to distinguish. The concept of Nagarjuna of Sunyata is different from the concept of Buddha's concept. So Buddha's concept and Nagarjuna's concept are totally different, because he says this is there.
The Sunyata entity is there. We have something.
We have something that is the nothing, the base of nothingness is there. So he sits in the base of nothingness. He says, I sit in the base of nothingness. Buddha says. So he is kind of saying that there is something at least. The base of nothingness is there. So that is not, that is there, but that is what is there. What he is saying is that you are devoid of this, but this is there. So when you are in the monastery, you are devoid of the village. When you are in the forest, you are devoid of the monastery. So that is how. So that is a kind of a philosophical thing, but that is creating a lot of kind of issues with the meditation.
There's one Buddha teacher who said that emptiness or shunyata was the Mahayana version of the tenant origination, basically. Because they were just saying that, like, since everything is made by the mind and codependent, then it doesn't really exist. So that was his way of connecting it to Theravada, basically. So he was saying that's the way that they describe the tenant origination.
Yeah, but I think what Buddha is teaching is a way of going there. So he is giving a step-by-step method. He is giving us a ladder to kind of go there. They are kind of describing a certain thing. So they are describing it maybe in a philosophical manner, but and it may be kind of matching in philosophy. But in the practical way of reaching there, I think Buddha's method is practical. That is the reason many people can experience what they are experiencing.
Yeah, like in my experience in those traditions, you're basically training yourself to see the world that way, but it's a philosophy, like you said. So it's really just a concept that you're kind of trying on, as opposed to a method or a way of training the mind.
Yeah. So that is what method of training of mind. That is a kind of key concept over here.
Can we say emptiness is equal to interdependent?
So emptiness is also dependent on this not being there. This not being there, there is this. Okay. So they are empty of this. That is what how they are explaining. So we cannot say that we are not talking about emptiness in that sense. We are talking about voidness. So what is it void of? What is it not there? What is not there? We are talking about that. So this is not there, this is there. So that is how we talk.
And Bhandiji, emptiness is not emptiness, there it is something. And that something is not something, there is also emptiness.
That is also concepts, no? That becomes philosophical. So that is the reason, don't think too much about it. So that is the reason. Okay, but this was a meditation method, so that is the reason I kind of went into it. But it is interesting what is coming. And what, friend, is a signless deliverance of mind? Here, with non-attention to all signs, we did this before also. If a student enters upon and abides in the signless collectedness of mind, this is called the signless deliverance of mind. This is the way in which these states are different in meaning and different in name, because they are doing it in a different manner. Now they are talking about just the deliverance. And what, friend, is the way in which these states are one in meaning and different only in name? Lust is a maker of measurement. Hate is a maker of measurement. Delusion is a maker of measurement. So, when you have lust for something, there is a way of measuring it. When you have hate for something, there is a way of measuring it. And when there is a delusion, what is delusion? I am this. That is delusion. So that is a measurement is there. In a student whose stains are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, so they are no longer subject to future arising. So what is happening is, it is completely gone, those things. The lust is gone, hate is gone, delusion is gone. That is when you are reaching the Nibbana. So this is also a way of explaining Nibbana. Like made like a palm stump, done away with, so that they are no longer subject to future arising. So you know the palm tree is there. When you cut the top of the palm tree, then it can never grow. Okay, so that is cut. And when it is there, it will just be like a stump, and it will be there, but it can never grow. So in that same way, when we are cutting this off, we are cutting off the lust, we are cutting off the hate, we are cutting off the delusion, then it will never come back again. So that is how the deliverance of mind is there. The unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. So this is unshakable, this is the best. Now that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust. So when this the mind of an arahant, we can say, is void of lust, void of hate, void of delusion. Lust is something, hate is something, delusion is something. In a student whose stains are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with, so they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of deliverance of mind through nothingness, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now the unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, void of delusion. Lust is a maker of signs. Hate is a maker of signs. Delusion is a maker of signs, means चिन्ह. So जो आपका जो आसक्ति रहती है, उससे चिन्ह पैदा होते हैं. उससे अगर आपका घृणा रहती है, उससे चिन्ह पैदा होते हैं. और ये आपका जो मन स्थिति का रहता है, मैं, वो मैं से चिन्ह पैदा होता है. तो जो भी आप ये इसमें है, वो चिन्ह आपको रहित करना है, आपका मन को. कोई भी चीज है, उसके अंदर आप ये रुचि लेंगे, तो उसका वो क्या होगा, उसके अंदर आसक्ति आएगी, या उसके अंदर घृणा आएगी, या उसके अंदर मैं भाव आएगा. तो वो हमें इसमें कोई भी चिन्ह को ध्यान नहीं देना है. एक जगह पे आप आके वहां पे उसको सबको छोड़ देना है. So at one point of time, all signs have to be abandoned. When you are in nothingness, what we say is everything you let go. So hate, lust is a maker of signs. Hate is a maker of sign. Delusion is a maker of sign. When you pay attention to those signs, what it becomes? It becomes lust, it becomes hate, it becomes I. So don't pay attention to any signs.
So these signs are literally visions in nothingness?
We can say anything, we can say sign, it's a concept. So how you perceive it may be different. You may perceive it as light, you may perceive it as figures, you may perceive it as kind of ripples in the darkness. Whatever way you perceive it, those signs you have to let go.
Nimittas.
Nimittas, these are nimittas. In a student whose stains are destroyed, these are abandoned, cut off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Of all the kinds of signless deliverance of mind, the unshakable deliverance of mind is pronounced the best. Now, that unshakable deliverance of mind is void of lust, void of hate, void of delusion. This is the way in which these states are one in meaning and different only in name. That means that whatever you do and you achieve the Nibbana, then that is same. So you can achieve the Nibbana by being in the Metta state, Karuna state, Mudita state, Upeka state, nothingness, or by any other means. You can achieve Nibbana, but all the meaning of that is the same. Because it is all the same deliverance of mind. So when you do anything, you can get to that point of purity, where you give up everything. That is what the Venerable Sariputta said. The Venerable Mahakohita was satisfied and delighted in Venerable Sariputta's wealth. So this is the end of the sutta. So this is a very kind of a sutta which has very high concepts, and only people who have kind of done really well in meditation will be able to identify many of the concepts over here. But it is an encouragement also for the people to kind of continue their meditation, because see, it depends on each person. There is one thing, a story when I was a young man in Mumbai. I used to read this chicken soup for the soul, Jack Confield. So there is a story over there in that. There is a guy who is in an iron lung suit, iron lung suit, and he cannot even sit down. But for many years he is in this iron lungs. He's lying down, and then at one point of time they get some new medicines and they give him, and he has to becomes well enough to take out that. So he cannot sit down, but he is in the bed. Then slowly he starts sitting down. Then they say that you do physical therapy. And he starts walking with help of the aid and everything. Then he said, after that the doctor said, you are walking in the house, it's okay, you sit down, you stay in the house, don't go out, you have medicines and stay. But he said, no, I want to kind of not live like this. So he starts walking to the park. As soon as he reaches the park, he is exhausted. So he kind of almost faints, but he sits in a bench, he gathers his breath and he goes back home. Then next time he comes, he is able to kind of keep his breath, but he sits on a bench and goes on. Then he does this multiple times, and then he is able to walk in the park for say 5 minutes. Then he goes back home. Then he is able to walk in the park for say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then he slowly starts walking in the park for half an hour. Then he starts jogging. Slowly he starts jogging. First time he jogs for this time, this distance, and then he increases the distance. Then he starts running. Then he was so diligent and so kind of committed to having this physical strength back, that he starts competing in races. And then he starts winning races. Then he starts going to regional competitions, then national competition. Then he actually runs in the Olympics. So this guy had not even the strength to kind of get up out of his bed. But by persisting, by doing it continuously, the same thing, just walking, he could kind of go ultimately to the Olympics. So that is kind of the kind of encouragement we are giving you, is that this may seem kind of difficult to some. But if you kind of continuously do it, persist with it, because Bhante had, one of the first books Bhante had was Life is Meditation, Meditation is Life. So you make this meditation into your life. You are not learning something which you can use only in the retreat center, only while sitting. You have to take this 6 hours into a daily life. So if you are on the computer, make that as an object of meditation. If your mind wanders, you recognize, release, relax, smile and come back, and with a smile do your work. If you are driving the car, that could be your object of meditation. If you are cooking, that could be your object of meditation. Now I have at least, I think, 2 people who have attained a cessation experience while doing something. Bhante had one explained 2 people also. One was washing dishes, and she was 6 houring, and she was paying attention to the washing of dishes, and then the mind had become calm, and then she wanted to sit. When she sat, in 5 minutes she had the experience of cessation, because she was always on the 6 hours. When one person was in the office where they were working, in an office setting, they were working, and then they felt like sitting down. They just sat down, and then they had the experience of cessation. So there is one person in interviews said that when working, I can understand what are the dependent origination things which are happening. They are just going through their mind. What is happening of the dependent origination? How this thought is arising? How it is culminating into, and from where it is coming? And she can go back and see how this is happening. So that is how you kind of take your tools which we are giving, like the forgiveness is there. It's just a tool which you have. If you have your mind of hate, then you can use it to kind of reduce that. There are certain energies which are there, just dissipate. Just let that energies go. And then if you have this thing, more time, sit for longer. Do half an hour sit, 1 hour sit in the morning. If in the weekend you have more time, then sit for a longer sit. But if you take this practice and make it into a tool of life, then you are having a long-term effect. You don't have to wait till the next time you come over here to do 6 hours. You can do 6 hours anytime. Any place you are there, you can just recognize, release, relax, and return. There is no retreat which is required for you to kind of do this 6 hours. You can do it anywhere. This is something you learn and implement in life. It is not something like I once in Citibank there was a PowerPoint workshop. So we said, why are we taking PowerPoint? No, we will have to do PowerPoint presentations. So okay, we'll go. So where is this? It's a Marriott hotel. It's a 4-star hotel. There is a very good buffet and everything. You will get, you stay there 3 days or something like that. So we went there. We had a great kind of a teacher. He taught us a lot of things. He gave us projects. We made projects. We presented everything. Okay, go back to office. What projects you have made? 2 persons means kind of gave their presentation. Everybody lost interest. After that, there is no presentation. There is no PowerPoint. Nothing. Whatever you have learned is learned, there is no implementation of that. So that I have no skills of PowerPoint now with me, because I have never used it. I learned in a very good setting with like international, they had Microsoft certifications, those people who had come for teaching us. But there is no use, there is no implementation, so there is no development. So that is all lost. But if we had used it, we had used it in our life, and we had done that again and again, then we would have that skills, we would have enhanced that skills, and we would refine that skills. So in the same way, when you are given these tools, to take to your this thing and refine it and enhance it and use it, and then this will kind of grow. So there are some questions. I'll just first.
Just the very end of what you were saying,
lust, hatred, delusion, the maker of measurement and signs. So is that like, unlike rich chocolate, I don't like Amul chocolate, rich chocolate is better, Amul is worse, or like, that's like a measurement? You know, what is the signs?
Science can be anything, they say that, like in meditation, if you consider that, there can be what are coming up in meditation.
But like in daily life? Like,
In daily life, we can say that a person who likes expensive shirts or something like that, has a, you can say that this is a person who is there is a sign for him, no? So he's wearing an expensive shirt. This wears whatever brand he gets. So then we know that is a sign of that. Or a person who is angry, maybe having a frown, that's a sign. So in daily life, you can say that if a happy person is there, then he always has a smile.
so this is kind of like another way of saying preferences versus being preferences.
Yeah, it has certain things which happen, which kind of enhances. It can be a small thing, like there is a war going on over here in Ukraine and with Russia. Russia had a craving for certain things. Maybe it has, some people say it has a craving for security, because it is very easy to invade Russia if there is a NATO forces over there in Ukraine. It is, so they had a craving for that they want security. Because of that, they kind of went over there. That is also a kind of this thing, no? There is a lust over there. There is a kind of craving which is there. They want to be secure. They don't care about the other part. So now they do action to get their security. But it can be very small also. Like in nothingness, you see there is a light coming up. So that is also and we are interested. What happens after you pay interest? Something else happens. There is a thought, or there is a memory, or something comes up. So it can be a small thing, it can be a very big thing. So it is based on everything which is happening in this world is happening because of the lust, hatred and delusion. And when one understands that this is happening because of that, then one cannot change the world, but one can change ourselves. By changing ourselves, we are kind of being a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. So that is how we kind of change.
And I don't know about the Indian military, but the US military, we do about half of our life is PowerPoint. So if you like PowerPoint.
I did not know that. Okay. Thus an arahant become thoughtless during most parts of the day after final cessation. I would assume that, I am not an arahant, so I cannot say from experience, but I would assume that they are thoughtless, and then there is somebody who had kind of said that a thought arises to me. So that is how the suttas also mentions, Buddha talk about a thought arose in me, that I need to kind of give them certain medicinal requisites because they are very weak. So then the Buddha gave kind of this thing that there is medical. So that is the kind of condition it would be. That there is no thoughts, but then when it is needed, a thought can arise. But it will not be like a busy mind or something like that.
जो अरहंत रहते हैं ना, उनकी चित्ते रहते हैं, तो लोग पीने रहते हैं, फंक्शन का नहीं होता है,
Thoughts, that is what I am saying, that thoughts are there, but the thoughts come because it is needed, not because unnecessary thoughts. So there are thoughts, वो विचार रहते हैं, मगर ऐसा आता है कि जैसे बुद्ध का एक सुत्ता चालू होता है, उसके अंदर बुद्ध कहते हैं कि मुझे एक विचार आया कि मैं क्यों ना इन जो भिक्षु जो कमजोर है उनको शाम के लिए कुछ दूं खाने के लिए। तो उसके बाद में उन्होंने एक ऐसा ऑर्डर दिया कि ये सब जो है शुगर है, मोलेसिस है, हाँ तो वो जो भी है उसको हम हाँ रिक्विजिट्स हम लोग बोलते हैं, अलाउबल बोलते हैं।
तो बंदे भी each Arhat has subtle obscuration, or what is the difference between Arhat and Buddha?
See, Arahant is also called a Buddha. He is called a Savaka Buddha. There are three categories of Buddha. One is the Samma Sambuddha. He learns from his own experience. It may take a billion years or a trillion years or whatever they say it takes. And he becomes a Buddha and teaches others. Then there is Pacceka Buddha. Pacceka Buddha will learn on his own. He may also have some experiences or something like that. Like one example I will give you is that Devadatta, who is the cousin of the Buddha, who actually tried to kill the Buddha. That was the gravest crime. He will go into a hell for a long time. And that hell realm is so painful that after he is born, he will become a Pacceka Buddha. Because he has he will lose any desire to be in the samsara. And then he will kind of strive, and after striving, he will become a Pacceka Buddha. And then there is a Savaka Buddha. Savaka Buddha is any student of the Buddha who listens to the Buddha and becomes a Arahant. So what are we doing is we are listening to the Buddha currently. I may be just reading this, but we are listening to the Buddha. And you can also become a Savaka Buddha because you are able to listen and practice.
Panditji, Sakyamuni Buddha was in first category, Samyak Sambuddha.
Samyak Sambuddha. So he was able to teach. So that is the reason we have his students and we have this thing. And there are many categories of Buddhas also. In one of the suttas they said that there are certain Buddhas which they don't give Vinaya, they just give Dhamma. Because they are born in such a place or era where people live for 80,000 years, 60,000, 80,000 or 100,000 years. When they are being born in that, they can teach to everybody in that time. Who can attain, they will attain. After that, Buddha Dhamma kind of is lost. After the last Arhants die, that teaching gets lost. Because that is not needed also, because all who can attain, do attain. The next Buddha who is coming, Maitreya Buddha, will become Buddha where I think 80,000 or 100,000 years is the lifespan of the human being. And he will teach 100,000 people with each, when he is speaking, each will listen to his own this sermon, okay? His own teaching. So 100,000 people will listen to 100,000 different teachings at the same time, and will all become Arahants. Because he will tailor-make those teachings for each person. Yeah.
तो पंडित जी ऐसा कहते हैं कि मैत्रेय बुद्धा ने ये कहा, तो वो क्या चीज है? क्योंकि मैत्रेय बुद्धा तो अभी आई नहीं।
बोधिसत्व बोलते, मैत्रेय बोधिसत्व ऐसा बोल सकते हैं। अगर टेक्निकल टर्म्स इस्तेमाल करें तो मैत्रेय बोधिसत्व बोल सकते हैं।
But now तो he is not present, he will come in future.
Yeah.
But बोलते हैं कि मैत्रेय बुद्धा ने या मैत्रेय बोधिसत्व ने ये बोला है, तो what is that?
अभी वो मुझे पता नहीं कि मैत्रेय बोधिसत्व ने क्या बोला है, कहाँ पे लिखा गया है, मगर इतना मुझे पता है कि जब वो लोग थाईलैंड में बड़े बड़े मॉन्क लोग मिलते हैं, तो कुछ लोग मॉन्क लोग बोलते हैं कि मैं तुलसीता में गया था और मैंने वहाँ पे देखा कि मैत्रेय बोधिसत्व तपस्या कर रहे हैं और मैंने उनको प्रणाम किया और वापस आया। तो ऐसा सब कुछ भी चलता है। कुछ लोग ऐसे बोलते हैं, एक्सपीरियंस से है या नहीं हम उसको वेरीफाई नहीं कर सकते हैं, मगर ऐसा होता है।
और जो बुद्ध होते हैं ना, तो हर एक बुद्ध का स्टोरी कॉमन होता है। वो हर एक पर्सन की एक ही जगह पे जाके बुद्ध होता है, जहाँ पे पृथ्वी की कॉमन होती है, तो प्लेस पता चल जाता है कि प्रीवियस बुद्ध भी यहाँ पे आए थे ऐसे। तो अभी जैसे ये जो समय है ना, ये 5 बुद्ध का समय है, और सिद्धार्थ गौतम ये 4थे बुद्ध है और मैत्रेय बुद्ध ये 5वें होंगे। तो जैसे इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं ना, जैसे अभी जो बोधी ट्री है, जैसे हम पीपल के झाड़ को बोधी ट्री होते हैं, तो वैसे प्रीवियस बुद्ध के टाइम में भी बोधी ट्री थे, तो अलग अलग बोधी ट्री थे। जैसे बहुत सारे झाड़ है जो बोधी ट्री है, तो नेक्स्ट टाइम पे हमने तो लिटरेचर में दिया है बुद्ध वंश में, कि नेक्स्ट स्टोरी उनका पहले से लिखे रहता है वाले लिटरेचर
Not from
हाँ
But now, how many Buddha we have? 5, 6 or?
No, no. He's saying, she's saying this 5 Buddha means this महाकापा. ये महाकापा के अंदर 5 बुद्ध है. सबसे ज्यादा मीन्स ज्यादा बुद्ध है. कुछ कुछ महाकापा में कुछ कोई बुद्ध आते ही नहीं है. और कुछ महाकापा में एक ही बुद्ध रहेंगे. और इस महाकापा बहुत ही अच्छा गिना जाता है क्योंकि इसमें 5 बुद्ध है.
और एक बुद्ध का समय 5000 साल का है. एक बुद्ध का टाइम 5000 years. तो अभी सिद्धार्थ गौतम मिल रहा है ना 2600 years हो चुका है.
We are in the
Yes, अभी 2400 years और हो जाएंगे. तो हमारे यूनिवर्सिटी ऐसे कम्युनिटी का था कि now we are learning Dhamma at the time of Siddhartha Gautama's passing. So there is possibility that at the time of Maitreya Buddha we will be there in presence of him and we could attend Arandu. So that was I still remember.
But that is what, why delay when you can have it now? ऐसा
billions of years ahead for the human life to reach 80,000 years.
yes.
Trying to reach 10 years. It is in the decline now. Then, so,
And Gandhiji, how many Buddhas we have?
There are uncountable Buddhas before this Buddha, and there will be uncountable Buddhas after this Buddha. So there is no count we can have. So uncountable. So I'll just read one or two this thing. Healthy body leads to healthy mind, or healthy mind leads to healthy body. See, the mind-body connection is there. So both have to kind of be in synchronicity. So you need a body also, you need mind also. Without the mind, you cannot exercise. If you do not have the wish to exercise, then the body does not enhance. So if you are exercising, that means you are using the mind. But when you exercise, you feel fresh. Then the exercise means the body is giving the mind some kind of enhancement. So it is a synchronicity. So both should work together. It is not one or the other, both together. You have to use. Is Buddha able to control his thoughts? After Nibbana, does one control them? Or does it still remain impersonal? It is impersonal. They don't have to control their thoughts. Or an Arahant. Arahant and Buddha is the same liberation. In the suttas they say that what the liberation is, the quality of liberation is there of a Buddha, is the same liberation of the Arahant. There is no difference in that. Only that Buddha kind of learns from his own experience.
then what is the difference between the liberation of Sariputta and the liberation of Mahavedalla? Because they were both very wise and they were both ready, but Sariputta's liberation was delayed by a week because he was...
But the quality of the liberation, we are not talking about the liberation itself is the same, that is the quality of the liberation. The quality of the liberation means that there is no rebirth and all those things.
The result is the same.
The result is the same.
But the journey might be different.
The journey and the power of the Arahants will be different. There may be Arahants who have no psychic power. There may be Arahants who have all the psychic powers, and there may be a difference in between also. Like Aniruddha had, before he became an Arahant, he had a 10,000 world system he could look. And there was a commentary where they say that in his previous life, he had met such a Arahant. And he said that I also want to kind of be like that. So that was desire was there. That is the reason that God, that is all inclination of the mind is considered. So where you incline as an Arahant also. How can we get rid of sloth and torpor in our everyday lives? How to differentiate between real bodily tiredness and when the mind is just being lazy? It is difficult, but you have to kind of give yourself extensions as I told you. In the sitting, you have to give yourself extension. If with the extensions still your body is not kind of listening, then you rest. In one of the suttas also, the Buddha kind of extends this thing, and then he says that now I should lie down. So then he lies down. So that is from there I think Bhante has got that idea. But you have to give yourself extensions and then at a point of time you kind of realize that there is no extinction possible, then okay, you can rest or something like that. What is fear? How many types of fear? How to overcome from fear? Fear, is it feeling or perception? So fear is a perception. We are perceiving, there is a contact, there is a mental contact, and then there is a feeling. When there is a feeling, there is a perception in it. There is I like it, I don't like it, and then there are the cravings are there. So whatever is the clingings which are there. So clinging which is there comes into the effect, which says, oh, this is like this and that. Then the habitual tendency is that this feeling is there, then the feeling of fear comes up. When the feeling of fear comes up, there is a birth of action. You kind of have that hair standing up, your body has this adrenaline rush, you kind of run away, or you kind of are there. So fear can be just a perception. Fear does not have to have anything linked to it. One of those days, I was sleeping in Thailand, and somebody talked about, oh, which kuti you are in. So I said, oh, I'm in this kuti. Oh, then they said that kuti is haunted. So I said, okay, I don't care. So I just went, and there was scratching max on that same night when we had this discussion. There was something was scratching, clearly scratching on the door, you know. And then the fear arose. But that time I had this mindfulness. So I could see the fear arising and just watch the fear. Just the fear arise, and I was just watching the fear. Oh, this is fear. Like it was real fear. There was scratching noises coming out, and this real fear is there. And then I just watched it, and it subsided on its own. Because I did not play with that fear, so I did not run away or do anything like that. Thais are very afraid of this thing, ghosts and everything. If you tell them anything, this monastery has ghosts, then they will not go there. They are, and I will tell you one thing interesting about Thailand. I must have watched TV in Thailand for 3 minutes in 1.5 years. Maybe roughly 6 months once I must have glanced at a TV for 1 minute. So that is the only TV I watched in the Thailand. And all the 3 minutes which I saw the TV, there was some ghost on that TV. That is just random sampling. There was some ghost on that. I said, okay, they are kind of obsessed with this. And I will tell you one ghost experience, real ghost experience which I had. Very real, no jokes. So I was just lying down, and I was also after cleaning and everything, I come back at my kuti at 12. So I got up at 3 o'clock, okay? I get up normally at 2:30 and then sit half an hour, then go for the cleaning and everything and the morning sessions. So I got up at 2:30. I have come back to the kuti at 12. After doing all my chores, everything, I come back and I just want to lie down. I lie down to the kuti, and my window starts vibrating. And I see over here and there, is there wind? No. Are the other windows vibrating? No. This window is vibrating like nobody's business, like cut, 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 cut. I'm seeing what is happening. I'm seeing all over the place. I'm looking outside the window. I can't see anything, and there are cracks. This is not kind of a wood. They are makeup panels. You know, you can look from the gap. I'm not seeing anything, and this window is going cut, 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 cut. I said, something is there. Then I go out and I see over there is nothing I can see. Then I want to see from outside. When I go outside and see at the window is shaking like this, and I see that one very kind of small strand is there, which is going to the other tree. And there is a cobweb in construction. So when I came, that cobweb was not there. When I just came, whatever spider was there had not gone to that window. So when I came, I did not see the cobweb. And when in the 5 minutes I came and rested, that spider came and attached the cobweb, and because this was not structurally sound, this thing, it started vibrating. So for the 5 minutes I thought it was a ghost.
So it's not a real ghost story.
But for me it is a real ghost.
You're really hoping to hear
So that is something which happened. It is a ghost story till the time you know the truth.
So the ghosts, they are real.
The hungry ghosts are mentioned in the suttas. So yeah, there is, when there are certain ghosts which are mentioned in the, and they said, I saw a ghost which was going, and there were big birds coming and eating their flesh. And then it was again reanimating, and then the birds were coming and eating that flesh once again. So then the other monk says, oh, I also saw that. I did not say because I thought people will not believe me. So if you see it and I see it, then it is real. So there are... Hungry ghost is, she will be, below human. I think animals are below that, no?
Yes. I think humans and Tilakshan then for animals then
So it's not necessarily they live in some other world. They might be present here also.
Dimensions.
Mostly in marketplace, because this Cetanākaraṇīyasutta, these abilities take care. They won't allow them to go into the zone of humans. They protect Cetanākaraṇīyasutta rivers.
But they say that in places like this where the Buddha image is there are a lot of devas come and stay. Because it is considered, that is the reason in Thailand they will go for bigger and bigger and bigger Buddhas. Because they think that the bigger the Buddha, the more the devas will come. And where the devas are there is prosperity. So you should see the Buddha in the temple I am living in. He was a huge Buddha, more than the ceiling, you know. And they are kind of prosperous temples, so maybe that is true.
Also these huge trees, which are old trees, very huge. So on these very, very huge trees, this Cetanākaraṇīyasutta are advisor there. So old trees and very big trees. Most of them are very trees. So that, I don't know what concept, but in literature it is given.
No, in the Buddha's time also, there one incident where Buddha has just attained, or before attaining this thing, they think that Buddha is a deva, and then they give this kheer, no? So that is the, yeah. So. What is more meritorious? A life dedicated to service to others, dana, or a life dedicated to the search of God? Isn't the later more self-centered, selfish, self-serving and self-centered? See, it is dependent on what you want to achieve in this life, you know. So you can live a life of service. But the service, the person or the entity who is doing the service is not wise. Then how would the service he is doing be wise? And how much can it have effect? Like there is one thing which is a very practical thing. People kind of opposed nuclear power. Okay? Nuclear power was opposed by environmentalists. Now what happened is they closed down nuclear power plants. Now there is a natural gas, they said is a good, use natural gas. Now what has happened is that Russia is not supplying natural gas. So if this power plants were there, nuclear power plants, then this nuclear power plants could have given energy and they would have kind of helped in the situation. But now what they are doing is they are burning coal. They are starting coal plants. The most environmentally safe fuel, nuclear, they shut down that and now they are burning coal. Just coal is okay. They are cutting down forest and burning wood to make electricity. So how stupid can an environmentalist get that he kind of agrees to burn forest saying that it is green energy? So if you don't have wisdom, then how are you going to do good? So first develop your wisdom and then maybe you will be able to do some good. So that is how you are kind of going into the right path by developing yourself. That is not selfish. If I am taking myself away from the problems, okay, then I can be a part of the solution. So by developing your wisdom, you will be able to also be of help to the society, to the humanity. Could you please share more examples of equanimity and the impersonal nature of things for real life situations? So one of the things which happens when we are equanimous is you are not panicking, okay? So one is about Sister Khema. She was there. She actually was instrumental in the construction of Dhammagavesi. Dhammagavesi center is now looking good. There are roads and everything. There it was forest, just forest. And she kind of was driving on a dirt road, okay? And then what happened was the four-wheeler which she was driving, it went into the ditch. And then she realized that it is going into the ditch. She kind of tried to control that thing and then brought it into control. And before she went to the bottom, she kind of managed to brake. And then she realized that she had not panicked at all at that point of time. So she could see what was happening and experience this and not panic. And that is the reason she could control. If she had panicked, she would have maybe shouted or taken out the hands from the wheel and it may have tumbled. And then she could have been injured. So in this way, when you are being equanimous, then you will be able to do the correct actions. One other is example of Bhante. Bhante was in Hawaii. And when he was in Hawaii, there was a restaurant he was working in. He was very young at that time. So he was working in a restaurant. Somebody smoked a cigarette and put it in the dustbin. And the dustbin caught fire. When the dustbin caught fire, everybody panicked around it. And then people were starting running and they were shouting. And what he did was he took a jug like this. He took the jug, went over and just poured the water in the can, the burning can. And the fire was off. So because his mind was at that time equanimous, so he could see that this is happening and there is just, I have a jug of water, I just pour the jug and it has, you don't need to panic over there. So equanimous mind can kind of help you in dealing with many of the situations. And certain times somebody can come to you with a question or somebody will come to you with a kind of a problem or something like that. That time you will be able to kind of know what is happening over here. You can see beyond that what is being said, or because your mind is equanimous, you are able to kind of see what is happening and then you are able to respond to what is being said. Because see, verbal communication is, some people say there is only 7% verbal communication, 93% is the other communication, that is the facial and the attitude a person has, the tone which has, communicates that much. So words communicate little, but how do you kind of be able to kind of see it? When you are equanimous, you can see that thing. So there are many examples which can be said, but these are kind of a indication of how a person can deal with life with when they have equanimity. And certain times a person who has a good meditator may not be equanimous at that point of time, he may not be in equanimity, but if it is needed, then he can kind of switch into that, because that is the mode he is in. He can just switch into equanimity mode and then he can take hold of the situation. So those are what is coming. Is there any other questions? So we need to have a sit also after this. It is almost 8:30. So we need to sit for at least one session after every day. And tomorrow after lunch, we will give you mobile phone. That does not mean that everybody can talk. If they want to talk also, be away from the different meditators, okay, this hall or everything. They can maybe be in the dining area. That area can be the only talking area. If somebody wants to talk, don't talk outside the hall or something like that. Just go quietly and keep this area the quiet zone. And normally why we are giving the phone after the lunch is that you can plan your travel. Because many times there is some coordination has to be there, somebody has to pick up, or some schedules have to be checked. You have to kind of see if your reservation was kind of confirmed or not. So all these things have to be done, so that is the reason we are giving. It does not give you kind of the freedom to kind of just be talking and all these things. And there will be interviews. Yeah, interviews are normal. Tomorrow would be the final interviews. So you have to sit as you normally sit. Day after tomorrow in the morning we will have the 6 precepts, and that would be after breakfast it kind of ends. But tomorrow night we will have one session of interviews, okay. So we will have the feedback sessions. Everybody will be, short feedback will be taken. There will be 2 or 3 questions only, like how did you like this meditation, and how did you find this 10 days. Then one other question would be, if you had to invite somebody to this meditation, what would you use? What are the words you will use to kind of invite somebody to this program? So just that your introduction, where you are from, your name, location, then what was your experience in the 10 days, and if you had to invite somebody, what would you say to them? What are we doing in this 10 days? That is the only 3 questions are there. So not too much complicated. It's a simple thing. Everybody can use 5 minutes and just give their share their experiences. So it will help others also. Huh? Tomorrow we will have a Dhamma talk. We will mostly talk about how you can take this practice in your daily life. Okay? We'll talk about that. There is a simile of the saw is there, the Buddha kind of gave to his monks. We will kind of go through that. Not the whole sutta, just a short, and then as I promised Bante, I'll also I'll read the sutta. There is also a small sutta for dana. Okay, so how dana can also be a factor for awakening. So we will do that tomorrow, and we will have this interview session, and I'll try and kind of wind up this thing faster. Okay. There are no questions then? We'll share the merit. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation.